Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. My name is Mario Ramirez. I'm from Voces de la Frontera, and I know this building because long time ago, I graduated from GED, and I know how important it is to have the bilingual classes and ESL classes. So really important to keep funding those programs to keep ESL classes. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Alondra Garcia.
It's 4:26. Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alondra Garcia. I'm a second grade bilingual teacher in the Milwaukee Public Schools District. This is my 4th year teaching. I love it. I love it. I teach at Allenfield Elementary. I teach second grade. And let me just tell you that being a bilingual teacher is a gift. I love it because I graduated from MPS as a bilingual student. I went to J.W. Riley. I went to kind of a private school, and then I graduated from Ronald Reagan. But what I learned about being in the bilingual program is that it's very essential to learn that second language, which is English. It gets you around, it gets you to the resources you need, it gives opportunities, right? So I want that to be a thing for the rest of our community. And just hearing about classes being cut, ESL classes being cut at MATC was really saddening, because I was thinking of helping my mom apply to be a student here. And it wouldn't accommodate her schedule because it was kind of early and she would still be at work. So that was a bummer. So what I had suggested was, I'll teach you English now that she has more time on her plate. But like, I don't have all the resources, and I know MATC does. So that's one thing. Then I met another friend of mine who just came from Colombia. His major goal was to learn English. And I had suggested, I will help you with that. I had suggested MATC, but then I found out that the classes were being cut. So it's saddening, I, as a teacher, and I'm very vocal, very proud of being a daughter of immigrants from Mexico who migrated in 1999. They found their home here, but the problem is the English, right? We need to provide those services for our community. And it's saddening to see it's getting cut off in a place where people can get here pretty quickly, because it's really close to the heart of the south side of Milwaukee. It's a couple of blocks away. I live like 5 minutes away. So as a teacher, I mean, my time is, limited. I'm volunteering my time to help people in the community because I'm not seeing what MATC should be doing, serving the community, allowing ESL classes to happen. I know there's short staffing, it's not accommodating to everyone, but we need to make an effort. We have to. It's necessary. Thank you.
Francisco.
I'm
going to translate. Okay, thank you.
Mi nombre es Francisco Aguilar. Cuando yo llegué a la ciudad de Milwaukee, yo no había terminado el GD. Terminé el GD en MATC. Empecé a estudiar ESL, clases. Me eduqué porque me gusta aportar a la comunidad. Yo vengo representando a la comunidad y ser parte de Voces de la Frontera.
His name is Francisco Aguilar. He comes here today. He took GED classes in the past, and he knows the importance of education in the community, and he's here to speak today.
Ahora empecé como obrero. Ahora tengo una compañía que tengo 5 empleados. Tengo 200 clientes o parte de mi negocio. Tenemos una derrama económica que hemos dado gran valor a 5 empleados, que son ahora 5 familias que cuentan con nosotros.
So after he went to school and got his GED, he was a employee, but thanks to his education, he was able to become a business owner. He has 5 staff and over 200 customers. And with his staff, it's important for the educational component.
Siempre la inclusión de la comunidad, incluyéndose a la ciudad donde llegamos, es aprender el idioma de inglés.
It's always a benefit to the community when you learn English and bring back to the economy and also to the community.
Se nos hace que somos ya parte de esta ciudad. Es por eso que la educación se nos hace tan importante para la ciudad y para la comunidad.
It's very important to us to not only that we feel like we're a part of the community because we are a part of the community, but it helps us feel valued and bring value back.
Es por eso que siempre que hay una forma de dar nuestro paso adelante y dar ideas y dar más oportunidad para la juventud, para la educación, se nos hace importante.
And what's really important is if there's ever an opportunity to bring value back, not only to the community, but to the youth and to our community in general, we see value in being able to offer what we can come back and contribute.
En mi negocio tratamos de implementar las artes a los niños de las escuelas del South Side de Milwaukee.
In my job, what we like to do is incorporate the arts within the youth in the Milwaukee area.
Mi negocio es de publicidad.
My job is with advertising or publicity.
Entonces nosotros creemos que las clases y la educación siempre es muy importante para hacer crecer nuestra ciudad y crecer nuestro entorno y nuestra economía.
And to be able to contribute and contribute to the economy, contribute to the community and contribute as people, what we do is we bring it back into the arts and what we're incorporating into in our jobs. ¿Y qué más el trabajo?
Ayudar en la economía de la ciudad.
And to help the economy in Milwaukee. And we do it through what we're contributing with our work.
Por eso les agradeceríamos mucho si tomaran mucho en cuenta que es un aporte para las nuevas generaciones tengan un nivel escolar más grande.
And for people to have a higher scholar or more literacy, it's important to take these things into consideration because that's what he likes to contribute to his staff so that they can in turn bring that out into the community and to the economy.
Y si ustedes saben, yo necesito el inglés.
And as you can see, I need English. And that's what he wants to offer to
This is
his
the
staff,
reason.
those opportunities.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like we're on to a new topic based on what is listed here called student concerns. So I'm going to make that. So Lourdes Castillo. Lourdes. Yeah, sorry.
How are you? Hi, Lourdes. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for your service to MATC and all the students that have graduated, including me, when I first came to the US. I am here as a community representative, also as an instructor, part-time instructor with MATC. And I have some comments from my students that they wrote about their concerns about the ESL classes being offered at Walker, which I will hand out. These are in Spanish, so it will take some time for me to present them and translate them. So if I could just hand them out to somebody and then they can do the translation, and I will say just a resume of what their concerns are.
Wait, do we need someone to translate them? Is that what you said?
I think what she was saying, Chair Olson, is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that we can make copies and have them translated and then.
Oh, she's not going to translate. Okay, I just want to make sure.
I think
Okay,
you said
okay, I
we
just
were
want to
gonna
make
do a
sure.
summary, correct?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, I've been, I started as an instructor of ESL at Escuela View School, which was, I was a principal there. And Lauren Rockwell was one of our biggest supporters. I started the ESL classes for parents, and I continued, thanks to Dr. Martinez, who passed away, he brought me into MATC because I had a large enrollment of parents, 40 to 50 in my class, teaching English and learning English as a second language. I started with MATC several years ago. I continue my classes at the schools, Cago, Riley, and View School, which have not, up to now, they don't provide any ESL classes there, just MATC. So MATC in Walker's Point is an essential part for the Hispanic community and the parents. I think that we need to consider that these are working parents, which work in menial jobs. They do need English, and you will see that in some of their notes, to move ahead, to continue their education. They do plan to take GED. Yes, it is offered in Spanish. However, they need English for their jobs. And like many say, they don't have jobs where they can have a laptop and a computer and a phone they can be working on. They need oral English and to express themselves in their daily lives. Not having the instructors necessary to provide to the hundreds, because I believe there were 400 students that were interested in taking English as a second language. Also, there were 140 students or people that were interested in taking English as a second language at Mexican Fiesta, which I am a strong volunteer there. We just started the class. In fact, I had to leave in about 5 minutes to teach my 5 o'clock class until 8. And there aren't enough instructors. I understand the process of recruitment since I was a principal for 22 years. I understand budgets, I understand recruitment, I understand services for students, for parents. And I think the recruitment process needs to improve in MATC, and contacting and partnering with UWM, Alverno, Stritch, Carroll College for those students that are graduating in education, especially if they're going into the second language instruction. Because I work at those institutions, so I know, how I train teachers. So that's how I know that many of them will be looking for jobs. And right now we're short of teachers everywhere. I think the students are being shortchanged for the services that they need in the Hispanic community. This is also affecting not providing enough instructors for all of the students that are interested, for the institution to be named Hispanic Serving Institution. So I think that those are the things that need to be considered.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Time was up. Yep.
I
thank
know,
you.
I was going to ask, because they said their students have 3 minutes. So I said 17 of my students cannot be here. So can I have their 3 minutes? I guess not.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Felipe?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Felipe. I'm the former president of MATC Latinx Unidos. Currently, I'm a substitute teacher at Carmen High School. I have a letter from the I'm a little bit nervous. Have a letter from the students in Walker Square that I would like to read for everybody. Dear board members, we the students of MATC Walker Square are writing to express our concerns regarding the recent changes to our ESL and GED programs. We were notified at the last minute that certain classes will be canceled, postponed, or rescheduled, and this has had a significant impact in our learning and daily lives. As adult learners, we value our education and seek to better ourselves, but these changes have made it difficult for us to plan our work, family, and personal schedules. To make matters worse, some classes were canceled despite some students already being enrolled, and we do not understand their reasons for these changes. As Hispanic students, we appreciate the fact that Welker Square offers in-person classes and bilingual staff, which help us feel more comfortable and confident in expressing ourselves. This is particularly important to us as face-to-face classes are more effective for our learning. We completed our post-test in November, and we were provided with our schedules for the spring semester, including the teacher's name, class, hours, and days. We were ready to start studying, but just days before the semester began, we were informed that we would not be able, that we will be out 4 of our teachers. We have been studying at Welker Square for years, and we do not understand why this drastic change was made. We question the leadership of MATC, which has been engaging with the Latino community in Milwaukee for years, because we feel that this decision is limiting us and is stunning our growth. As adult learners, we make sacrifices to attend these classes and seek to better ourselves. We rush from our jobs to pick our kids from school, cook dinner, and help them with their homework, to then run to Welker Square to take these classes. We consider this sacrifice worthy in moving forward in our education, and it fills us with pride and personal satisfaction knowing that someone is waiting to teach us. We would like to request an explanation from MATC regarding the recent changes to our classes and teachers. We believe that our students' voice should be considered, and we would like to seek our concerns addressed in a timely manner. Additionally, we have included signatures from students who have yet to be enrolled because there are no more testing appointments being offered. We ask the MATC give these students the opportunity to learn, to be heard and counted so that this state becomes better and allow us to grow. Thank you for your time. Thank you for taking the time to consider our concern. Sincerely, the MATC Welker Square students. The letters are in this document. This will provide, I will provide this to you at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. You did good for being nervous. Okay. Is it Bara? Omari? Hello?
I'm Bara Amari. I'm sharing a photo today from 1993. Pictured here, a retired ESL instructor, Dr. Wendy Halstead, her ESL student, and that student's 6-year-old daughter. A short 20 years after this photo was taken, unbeknownst to anyone, Wendy would go on to interview that 6-year-old little girl for an ESL instructor position here at MATC. That 6-year-old little girl stands before you today. My mother immigrated to Milwaukee to join her husband, equipped with a degree, little English skills, and no support system. Through her ESL courses, she improved her quality of life, gained self-confidence, and the skills to participate in her children's lives and raise her 4 children who later grew to be contributing members of this community. Community education offers services that provide students with the skills, tools, and autonomy to succeed. MATC is a powerhouse of English language services in this community. There's no degree attached to the department, but success is not finite. Growing up in an immigrant community, to quote others, everybody knows MATC is where you go for English courses as the first step in your journey. My mother's story, my story, is just one of thousands across this community. These other photos of her and other relatives and their family members in their ESL courses demonstrate the community-built lifelong relationships and impact ESL has provided, truly education that transforms lives, industry, and community at its finest. In this photo, my mother's also holding her, she's holding a textbook that still lives on one of her shelves today. That textbook is here with me today. The accompanying textbook is still labeled with a price tag of $6.40, a cost slightly higher than today's $4.50 material fee for ESL courses, as per the Wisconsin State Statute at 38.24. According to MATC's tuition and fees listed online, the basic education and English as a second language fees for ESL courses are exempt from the program fee, but the materials fee is charged when applicable. Statute 38.22 further details admissions requirements and defines refugees as residents per number 6, section D. Today's admission process for ESL students requires rigid processes, including an online application, turning away those who don't have the digital literacy skills to do so, and requiring others to return another day to complete the process. While we offer courses as early as 8 a.m. and as late as 9 p.m., there are little or no support services available for those students after 4 p.m. There are students here today to discuss their experiences with various steps in this process. In some cases, little support or difficult language have resulted in charges varying from $200 to $800, only to be faced with further barriers in providing residency documentation and no answers. Their instructors have dedicated hours in helping rectify this. A former student attempted to register for ESL courses earlier this semester and complained that he felt pressured to take courses when he was just looking for ESL. He was directed to follow the required multi-step process that included reapplying to the college. When I asked the leader how to document and direct his phone complaint, the response was, "Don't worry about it. You're too busy." He was angry. He never returned. That anger and frustration is better described as a lack of understanding of the student population and their unique needs that are better met with more equitable and not equal policies and practices. The fact that these administrative errors have not been resolved for over a month is related to recent unilateral administrative actions that strip ESL students of equitable treatment they've been afforded in the past. This equitable treatment pertains to registration, intake, and testing accommodations and providing appropriate staffing to meet a demonstrated need for classes in an underserved community. Thank you.
Anton?
Hello, district board members. My name is Anton Valinov, and I am a Ukrainian refugee. My wife, Natalia, and I came to the US 5 months ago on September 1st, 2022. We started studying in ESL classes at MATC in the fall. We came to the downtown campus, and an advisor helped us complete the application and register for classes. In the fall, both of us paid resident tuition fees, about $25 per each person per 1 semester. Then we register for our spring classes using self-service. We did not complete a new application or change any information about our residence or any student information. However, this semester I am now being charged as a non-resident. When my teacher, Liz Browning, tried to investigate and solve this problem, she was told I needed to provide documentation to prove my residency. This was very difficult as I am a newly arrived refugee. I provided a bank statement, driver's license, and my I-94 form. This is a government document which serves as a visa for Ukrainian refugees. However, I was told that the change to my residency would not be made until next semester. I believe this is unfair since the error is not my fault. It also does not make sense that I was considered a resident in the fall, but now no longer am. In addition, my wife is being charged as a resident, but I am not. My classes now cost over $800, which is something I cannot afford to pay for as a newly arrived refugee. For now, I don't have a job, and I am enrolled in a food share and refugee cash assistance programs. Moreover, I was approved for $300 in COVID relief funds, but now they are being applied as financial aid to the $800 of tuition charges. So it looks like I will not be able to receive those much needed funds. When my teacher has tried to follow up and get answers, the registrar and other administration have stopped response to her. We are not sure what else to do, but are asking to help in this situation. Overall, we believe this was a technical error, and we are asking that the change can be made to the tuition fees this semester. Otherwise, I will have to stop. I will have to drop my classes because I cannot afford to pay these fees. And I'm worried about the consequences that may happen if I can't pay the fees and will drop this ASL classes. That's all information. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Eileen Stone.
Good afternoon. I'm here because I want to support this community school. That's so important for our students. I worked at a community-based organization for close to 30 years, half with the CBO and half with MATC. And at our community school, students came from the community. They walked there, they dropped their kids off at school. Some of them went to take their kids to Kugel and to Allen Field. It was all in that area. And they were not able to come downtown. Maybe they had only one car in the family. And so it shows the importance of this school. I had a lot of students that dropped their kids off from school and then they came to the class. And that's the importance of a community school. And all of my students were Latinx, as you would say today. And I know that they had to pick up their kids after school or get lunches ready. So they were very, very busy. It was too hard to come down here and find a place to park. They couldn't afford that, especially with the price of eggs. So that's why it's important to have this community school. So I always say, Los Latinos, mi gente.
Christy Weisenberger.
My name is Christy Weisenberger. I'm an ESL teacher at the downtown campus, and I just am here to read a letter from a student. And I have it in Spanish and English, so I can give that. So I'm about to read a letter that was written by a student in Spanish that I've translated. The reason for the letter is that she has non-resident fees on her account, which she's unable to pay despite the fact that she is a resident. When she registered, she brought multiple pieces of documentation to show her residency, but she mistakenly chose non-resident on her application form because she thought that choosing resident meant she was born in the US, which she was not. So this question and the application were not explained to her by the employee that helped her to register. She came in person. When she reached out to the registrar to fix the problem, they told her they could not fix it for this semester, which meant she still had to pay the fee. As a result, she dropped the class. And so here's her letter. She says, culture shock is an event that everyone who visits a foreign country has to face at some point. In a new environment, having to complete a document is a task that generates feelings of insecurity and nervousness for the simple reason of the language barrier. The lack of orientation and the lack of empathy and hospitality on the part of the people whose job it is to orient a student to the learning process and enrollment in an institution becomes an uncomfortable, sad, and frustrating situation. Fortunately, you always find good people on the way whose vocation it will always be to help you. These people become a refuge and they help you to solve those bad experiences, which better technical systems would have avoided. Personally, I would have liked my first contact with this education system and admissions office to have been different, but based on my experience, I hope that it improves for future students. I hope that their first contact gives them excitement to learn and they find a warm environment, and not only because it's part of their job. I hope that their first contact gives them excitement to learn and they find a warm environment full of people who wish to orient them because they want you to be part of their community and not only because it's part of their job. Basically, I hope that in the future, students encounter staff who take the time to make sure that the student understands their application process and actually get to know the new student. As representatives of the institution, these employees should practice hospitality and improve the experience of the students and strengthen the growth of education. Personally, because I misunderstood one question due to the poor inequitable orientation system, I was at the point of having to drop my classes and not be able to learn the new language. Thank you.
Berta Paredes.
My name is Berta Barrias. Since the last board meeting, I find it odd that we have yet to receive a response to our concerns. As has been highlighted here today, our students and the community at large are waiting for an explanation as to why ESL students are treated with such inequity. The executive director on January 19th promised to visit ESL classes at Walker's to give an explanation and address student questions. It's now almost March, and that has yet to take place. I wonder what the holdup is. As a student-facing case manager at Walker's, I would like to make you aware that I see a pattern. First, our ESL classes, and now our second biggest program at Walker's, bilingual GED, is in danger. Walker's is the only campus that offers GED in Espanol. Yet our Latino immigrant students are facing unnecessary obstacles as they pursue their high school diploma. 1, 2 bilingual GED instructors retired in December 2022, but their vacancies have not been filled. Students have been left without a math instructor and a communications instructor this semester. These full-time positions were posted for a brief moment, and days later, they were pulled. When staff has questioned this various times in multiple mediums, we receive no response. 2, instead, one of those math classes was handed to an instructor who is not even certified to teach math. Student schedules were officially changed without their consent, and the in-person class they had registered for was converted into an online course. This instructor, who already has a non-instructional full-time position, requested that the class be converted to online, and that was granted to her to meet her needs, not the students. 3, this change was never communicated to staff, and it was not until these GED students approached me with their complaints that I became aware of the situation. Frustrated, upset, and disappointed, on January 25th, they asked for an explanation. Since the executive director was rarely at Walker's, students took the opportunity to meet with her on that particular day. They were asked to write down their names, their phone numbers, and their email addresses. They were asked how they knew where her office was and who sent them to her office. Giving them only about 10 minutes, they were told that they would receive a response through email. Students clearly stated that they do not communicate through email and invited the ED into their class so that she could give the same explanation to all the GED students. They're still waiting for that visit. 4, one of our CBOs was left without a math instructor, and they were told that the class would have a delayed start time. When the start time reared its head on February 15th, the ED canceled the UMOS GED math class the day before it was to commence. Instead of looking for possible solutions, it appears to be easier to cancel the class, even though there was already enrollment. On February 23rd, an email was sent to UMOS saying that those students could enroll at Oak Creek, but they only offer the class in English. Or they could enroll in an online course, also in English. Have we not already discussed how online is not the preferred modality for our Spanish-speaking population? I present to you specific dates because these are scenarios that are currently taking place. We were asked recently to leave what happened in the past, and to move forward. Well, how can we move forward if day after day and week after week, our community ed programs are in jeopardy? I state this here publicly, even at the risk of retaliation. Because I have already seen this happen to my colleagues. When students have found the courage to voice themselves, they are met with threatening questions as to who put them up to this. When staff brings forth issues, they are shunned and they are excluded from certain meetings and from decision-making. These types of tactics stain the goals of community ed and are contradictory to MATC's mission. Thank you.
And Aaron?
So I've been asked to read a letter from a student, one of the students which was affected, how Berta said, GED in Espanol students. So here is her letter. My name is Irma Gonzalez, and I'm a new student at MATC. I'm writing this email because for work reasons, I cannot present myself to this important meeting that will be held today. I want to express myself after having had an experience that worried me and that I have not received an answer or any options. A few weeks ago, I was called by a person who is not related to the GED 509 program, who said, your class has been rescheduled. When I asked her answers as to why, she only said, I don't know anything. They just told me to make the calls. When I went to get an answer with Miss Berta, she didn't know what I was talking about because she had no knowledge of the situation. That's when I and other colleagues made the decision to go personally to the office of Director Patricia Najera. We expressed our concern that this decision to change the class schedule affects us in many aspects of our life, family, and work. Mrs. Najera agreed to give us a solution, but we have not yet received it. 2 days later, her secretary called me to ask if there was anyone on campus who motivated us to go to her office. I was asked the same question several times, but they couldn't give me any answers about schedules or even mention anything about our concerns. You see, the reason for this call was to find out who sent us to the director's office. They called me again, not the person in charge of the GED program in Spanish, and simply asked me if I could attend the classes in the afternoon. My response was, I can't. That schedule does not work for me. We work or have to take care of our children in the afternoon. That's why we signed up for classes in the morning. I didn't get any response again. They just canceled me. My concern is that Mrs. Najera remains to resolve two very important issues. Hire other teachers to replace the two who retired. Number two, the privacy of who may have access to our information. I feel very disappointed in MATC because it is a very prestigious school and that this type of situation can happen. I feel intimidated. Right now, as I write this email, I am afraid of being expelled from the campus. It also makes me wonder how many people were left out because of these decisions. But I speak today through these words because someone has to know what is happening, and I don't want anyone else to miss the opportunity to achieve their goals. Thank you. Irma Gonzalez.
That concludes the public comments. So thank you for anyone who addressed the board tonight, sharing your concerns. The board will not be responding tonight to any matter, just in adherence to the state of Wisconsin open meetings law. which prevents the governmental body from discussing any specific item that was not publicly noticed on the agenda. So, thank you. We will move on to approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting on January 24th, 2023?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Director Mace and a second by Director Case. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Everybody online is online? Okay, so they didn't hear voices.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I will move on to the next item, which is approval of the consent agenda items. May I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on any of the consent agenda items? Hearing, seeing none?
No. you got
Okay.
nothing.
We had a motion by Director Case and a second by Director Baker to approve the consent agenda items. All those in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Next, we have our board action item, which is resolution F0262-02-23, authorizing the sale of $1.5 million general obligation promissory notes, series 2022-2023B of the Milwaukee Area Technical College. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. And Mr. Meehan is here.
Good evening. I placed before you a handout to walk through, very similar to what you've seen in the past. Based on the board action of the last meeting, we proceeded to go to market for the sale of the $1.5 million Series 22-23I note issue. We opened bids this morning and had 3 bidders. It's on page 2. Familiar name is Fidelity Capital Markets. They've won bids in the past that have been offered by the district. You'll see that the difference between the winner and the other 2 is about 23 basis points, which in my world is that's a big spread. That's a big difference between them. What it tells me is Fidelity had somewhere they could go with the notes. They knew what they were going to do when they were bidding on it. The other ones maybe took a flyer to see if they could win. We welcome all bids, of course. The bad news, of course, is that on compared to last month, the rates are up. And so when I compare the true interest cost, which is how we determine the bidder, compared to Huntington, who won last month, it's up about 0.5%. And once again, historically, the rates are still very low. We still have attractive interest rates. AA1 is still so important to attracting bidders, but the rates are up. On the following page, I have a description of the notes themselves. $1.5 million note issue will settle on March 15th. That's when the funds will be transferred by Fidelity to the district and the interest clock will start. The maturities are 24 through 27, 2024 through 27, and the first interest payment is this June 1st. The notes are non-callable as other issues are. As I mentioned, Fidelity Capital Markets is a winning bidder. On the next page, I have the overall financing plan. We're deep into the fiscal year as far as issues. The next issue, which the board is considering the initial resolution for on the agenda later, will be sold at the March 28th board meeting. At the very back of the handout, I have a copy of the Moody's press release. The language is the same as the last. The language is the same. The information that I just walked through has been provided to your bond counsel, Michael Best, who has prepared the award resolution, which is on your agenda this evening. And I'm sure I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? I'm not seeing any or hearing any. We did have a motion by Director Mays and a second by Director Diaz to approve resolution F0262-02-23, authorizing the sale of $1.5 million general obligation promissory notes, series 2022-2023I. Sorry, did I say that right? Yes, I thought it was a 1 for a second. So Gwen, could you please take a roll call vote?
Director Burke. Director Case.
Aye.
Director Diaz.
Aye.
Director Foley. Director Foley.
He's saying aye. He's just muted.
Director Lydia Ramos,
Aye.
Director Mays,
Aye.
Director Moore Umakundi.
Aye.
Director Baker
Aye.
and Director Olson.
Aye. Thank you. Next is resolution, thank you, Mr. Meehan, F0263-02-23, authorizing the issuance of $1.5 million general obligation promissory note series 2022-2023J of the Milwaukee Area Technical College District. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, we had a motion by Director Baker and a second by Director Mays for resolution F0263-02-23. Gwen, could you please take a roll call vote?
Director Case,
Aye.
Director Diaz,
Aye.
Director Foley,
Aye.
Director Lydia Ramos,
Aye.
Director Mays,
Aye.
Director Moore Umakundi.
Aye.
Director Baker,
Aye.
Director Burris,
Aye.
and Director Olson.
Aye. Okay. We're ready to move on to the reports, and the first report is the chairperson's report. The board policy task force met on February 15th. Is there anyone that would like to report out on that meeting?
Good afternoon. I'm Krista Connolly, interim general counsel. I'm facilitating the task force, and I'm just gonna give a very brief update. On February 15th, so just last couple weeks ago, the task force met for the purpose of outlining the charter, outlining the roles and responsibilities of the task force, which include clarifying and reviewing MATC policies section A, which are the board bylaws. The purpose of the task force is to determine how the board will review these policies going forward and in the future, the frequency of the policy review, and adoption or revision to existing MATC policies or procedures. It's also, the purpose of the task force is also to ensure that the policies reflect the defined structure of the organization and the role of the board. So as part of the task force meeting, again, the charter was approved, and we did discuss essentially a timeline or review of policies. Our goal is to complete the policies by the end, the policy review by the end of May. Those policies will be, to the extent that they're changed or modified or new policies are introduced, they will be brought to the entire district board for approval. Our goal is to have a first read in April with full approval during the May board meeting. Again, there may be revisions to existing policies, there may be new policies introduced. That's what we will discuss at our next task force meeting. In addition, the Office of General Counsel has reviewed all of the policies in section A to ensure that they are legally compliant with both state and federal statutes. So that's also part of the policy review. So that is, and I guess I should also share that the chair of the task force is Director Mendieta Ramos and Director Foley and Director Baker. With that, I conclude my update.
Okay.
It's pretty exciting stuff.
Is it? It sounds like
I just,
it.
like, can't even begin to say.
Almost says Director Foley's excitement on doing the bylaws at the state level, right?
Pretty much.
It competes with that. Mhm.
He's a master.
While we're discussing that, should I also mention about joining the policy board?
Mhm. Yeah, I had sent that email out, and so somehow we need to make sure that Bria gets on that group. I had sent that out to Director Foley, so we need to make sure on the next one that she's on there, so.
Okay, we could certainly.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, thank you for that update. On March 15th, 2023, so before our next board meeting at 1 o'clock here, the MATC District Board appointment meeting will be held. So there are 3 positions that are up for appointment this year. One of it is the role of superintendent, which is currently held by me. The role of employer with 15+ manufacturing, currently held by Nikki Mays, and the employer with 15+ employees, that's currently held with Antonio Diaz. So that will be held on March 15th.
Sorry to see you guys go.
At your tables, I believe there should be the board self-evaluation instrument that's here. It was sent out in advance and is at your seat with some highlights there. We had tabled the action at the last meeting, if you remember, and Dr. Mannion took the suggestions from the board, and this is a revision on that. Director Baker had asked one question into that, and Dr. Mannion had taken a look at it. So if you look at item 9 on here, where it says the district board monitors, to strengthen that language, the suggestion would be monitors and evaluates. And so that would be an addition if that's a possibility, correct?
Well, crossing off the last phrase.
Unemployment, you mean?
So it just
Yes.
means that the word.
Correct. Sorry, I forgot the second part. Yep.
Yeah, just to explain, well, number one, when the document got sent out to all of us, I did reply and thank Dr. Mannion for like very thoughtful revisions in the areas to, and essentially it was to acknowledge the active role of the board, not just in understanding, but in actually, monitoring, passing things and whatever. And my only one still issue was just that the number 9 was a little restrictive, where it said we evaluate the president in terms of how she implements policies on employment, when really we have a very holistic evaluation that we do. So if the suggestion was just to eliminate that phrase, I think that's perfect. And then it just-
Okay. So then we would put this on there as an update to what you see here. And if there aren't any other suggestions or conversations, we would move it to the March board meeting then for approval as is with that updated changes with the additional ones that you see here. If anybody else has any conversation or suggestions, now would be the time to do that. We make sure we have it approved in time so we get to that time of the year that we have a tool in place. Okay, not seeing or hearing any, we will move that forward then to be on as an action item for the March meeting. Thank you. Registration for the Spring Districts Board Association is now open. It is April 20th and 22nd in Gateway in Kenosha. The topic at that is governance for accountability. And so if somebody is interested in attending, please let Beth know. And then Beth, could you let me know if nobody has let you know, so I can sort of do another call out, because I think sometimes people assume somebody else but me has done that. So just so we can sort of do another call out so people realize like, nope, nobody still has done that. So thank you. During our last meeting's public comment, there were several people that spoke to the need to review the ESL and ELL class offerings at Walker Square. Administration meetings are being held with the faculty and staff from Walker Square to hear their concerns and collaborate on ways to address future plans. On Friday, February 24th, all of the board members received a memo with background information and updates on this topic. There have been ongoing meetings and some subsequent results to problem solve the situation after that memo from Friday was sent to the board. And so at this time, I'm going to have Dr. Nahara and Dr. Dakwar come up to sort of provide a little bit of update on that. I notice that we see our audience, hopefully, but we'll hear some updates. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, thank you. I would just like to say that I would like to respond to, there was a lot said, and I want you to know that I'm very committed to the success at Walker Square. As you all know, I started in September of 2022. We are making a lot of progress in terms of making sure that we have more internal communication as far as with staff and faculty. And so some of the updates that I would like to share with you is that I have met with the previous IC and really determined that we needed to develop 3 faculty leadership positions, because there's so much in Walker's as far as community education. So we now have an IC for the ESL program. We're trying to recruit a faculty member for the GED, HSED, and to have a department chair. And I really believe that that is the first step as far as making sure that we communicate to the faculty. I'm having monthly meetings with the ESL faculty so that we're all on the same page. I am reviewing data in terms of what the needs are and having weekly conversations with Mohammed as far as looking at enrollment. How do we scale up permanent full-time positions in ESL. I do want to let you know that the decision to reduce the number of sections was made prior to my arrival to MATC. So I just want to make that a public record. But I do hear what they're saying loud and clear. I'm at Walker's on a daily basis and even on Saturdays. So there's a lot of things that I feel that were inaccurate. They were inaccurate. They're on a daily basis. And I am open to working with everybody. I don't operate this way as far as any retaliation or anything like this. I want to resolve this issue.
And if I may, this is part of the chair's report. So this is not a notice item. So,
okay.
So we're not here to respond to the comments that were made today. So I would just ask that we limit to.
Keep it at high level as far as what we've been doing up until that point to provide the board an update, because this wasn't noticed as a specific agenda item. So calling you up was just to provide a little bit more context to the memo that we received and follow up from it. So.
Okay, so to give you high level, there's increased communication with faculty and staff, having open hours. We will be having student forums during the spring semester. This is something that Nadine started, the VP of Student Success in the fall. So we're going to continue that in the spring. We're looking at permanent full-time positions in ESL. So that's something that I'm working with Mohammed on for the fall semester. And I don't know if there's anything else that
I'd like to add, I think the staffing issue, we are investing in bilingual. We in fact have 2 positions posted right now. We have 3 full-time positions for ESL this current semester. We had a meeting with some folks last week. I'm not aware of a single waiting list or section that's unstaffed at this time. And if there's one, I'd like to know what that is. We had a work session with some of the folks in this room, and we went through the numbers, the sections, the enrollments, the staffing, everything. I mean, just open discussion. Show me where the need is, how can we best just meet the needs and so on. So I just want to get in for the record, that's where we are. Dr. Nahira is working on a strategic vision and goal for the year ahead. And she's meeting, that's going to be bottom up. She's meeting with her staff to really come up with that vision and hopefully help determine what's needed in terms of staffing. We do have some challenges. I need to let you know, we cannot continue to provide unlimited number of full-time faculty in the district. There is, we have fiscal responsibility, and in some cases, we have to weigh out, what's in the best interest of the other divisions and other pathways as well. And that's how the distribution takes place. There's a lot of equity in the system. One observation is we have less and less part-time faculty. That's really impacting the system negatively. So we need to invest in big time. We've talked to the Human Resources Office. We met multiple times. We talked to talent acquisitions as well. And we'd like to really try to really beef up and increase our part-time pool as well. In some cases in the district, we have low enrollment classes as well. It is a tradition in this college that, we try our best not to cancel classes. But sometimes when you have 1 or 2 students, we try to find other options for them. So I don't want to say we cancel classes, but we accommodate students in different needs and so on. We try to do some of that. And that's why you heard something about rescheduling some classes and so on. We have no less commitment to ESL or bilingual whatsoever. I mean, if it's communicated anywhere, I'd like to know, because, it's been the president's, direction to really meet the needs of our community. And that's a premise of what we do here. So, I can give you more specific information, but at this time, I'm just, we're doing the best we can to really work with the staff over at Walker Square to meet the needs. I need to acknowledge that there was a structural gap at some point. The transition between Nadine leaving, Dr. Nahira joining the institution, the reporting structure and so on. So it is true that we did have a gap at some point that negatively impacted some of the decisions. So, but since then we've been meeting regularly, we've talked to the folks. And like I said, at this time, honestly, I'm not aware of any unmet needs in terms of classes. And if there is one, like I said, I'd love to know what that is so we can look into it right away.
So I'm a little confused.
Okay, the only thing I'm gonna say before we have anything is I just want to make sure that this was not a publicly noticed item, and I'm just gonna say the premise. So the conversation here was to address last month's
Yes.
situation, and under new business, if this wants to be put on differently, that's where we would do it. So I just need to say that in from premise from
May I
legal counsel,
jump
so
in?
yeah.
So
May I
that,
jump in really quick though?
yeah,
Sorry. I did request for us to put this on the agenda. I sent it to you guys 3 different times, so it could be addressed at this meeting. I sent a follow-up email on Friday that was responded to with something that did not address putting it on agenda. And then I sent the simple question, are you saying you're not going to put on the agenda? And it was not answered. So the request was for it to be on this agenda. It's not, but I'll let you go, Director Baker. But I did want to put that out there. The request was made 3 different times.
right. So my challenge is that in a report, we just got a bunch of information I have questions about. I'm sorry, perception is everything. And I believe everything you're telling me. I have no problem understanding it. But I also just heard a bunch of people, which I'm obviously not going to talk about because we're not noticed. I heard a bunch of people last week. And as you saw, like one of them is a principal I used to work with, one of them is a MPS teacher I used to work with, I mean, I also believe them. I understand, and I had a county board member, I had a representative of the state representative's office. We received a letter today from the president of the Common Council who used to be on this board. And so we clearly have a problem, and it is not a problem of just that you can tell me it's all. As a board member, I can't be satisfied with, it's good, we got it taken care of. Again, not that I don't trust you, but if we're not going to delve into this now because we're not noticed to, I'll bring it up in new business so that we will be
Thank you.
noticed to. But I think we need to address items that come from our public. And we need to do them publicly. So a letter that's sent to the board, it's actually public information once you send it to us, but they don't know that. So nobody out there knows the information that was sent to us.
Right.
So something needs to be sent to the college community. So the college community says, here's what we're doing, what we're planning, so that our community doesn't have to wait a month to hear us also talk about it. And then we can dive into it in a bigger way in our board meeting next month. But we clearly have something going on.
Absolutely. And I would say, again, some mistakes were committed, but as of last Friday, we met with the team. And I can tell you, I don't want to get into the specifics. I mean, very specifically, is there any unmet need? And if that's the case, what is it? And how can we take care of it? They were part of the solution, not only telling us what to do. Some of the ones who even presented today and so on.
Okay, so, yep, I'm gonna, yep, nope.
That's fine.
This was for that, so.
Question, so can I ask a question to anything that they did say?
Yes, so you can add, and I understand that there was a report provided on Friday. So if you have questions about that report, we can discuss.
No, I'm meaning what they did just say here in this meeting. So, apologies, I don't know your name. but Patricia stated that she didn't make the decision. So I want to know where the decision come from. It was prior to her. So can I ask questions related to what they said here today?
Yes, I think that's appropriate. And then
Okay.
if there is any concern about unnoticed, I will interrupt, and not to be rude. just to
No,
make
I
sure that we're
appreciate it. Keep me in line. Much appreciated. So that would be my question. Who did make the decision that was prior to Patricia coming on? Who made the decision to cut the classes at the ELL classes at Walker Square?
I can definitely tell you it wasn't me. So, and I know this is, let me just say this, by the way, the reporting structure was also different. Patricia did not even report to me at the time. And this is not to kind of blame, but I wasn't aware.
Dr. Duckworth,
Yes.
just interrupt. we do not talk about personnel issues at the board meeting. It is not an appropriate subject to talk about in open session. So I would highly recommend and advise that we stay away from talking about personnel issues, who made decisions when, and we stick to the issues that were a notice to be presented as part of both this report verbally here today and that were provided to the board on Friday.
Thank you. And I thought that there was a direct question, that's why, so.
And I understand that.
Well, yeah, I kind of asked the question, if I can ask the question before I ask. the
Yes, and
question.
I didn't, yes, it was, I don't want to, I would not recommend that we talk about who specifically made
Right.
decisions that are the subject of.
Can we ask how?
I think that is an appropriate question.
Do we know how?
Do we
it
know
took-
how?
How
The
the
decision
decision
was
was made, why it was made?
I would have to defer to Mohammed.
Again, honestly, I'm not aware of any decision to reduce sections at Water Square. I'm not. So,
I guess the
Well, we
troubling
got-
portion that I'm having here is that we have been given a lot of information. There have been requests made to the board so that we can get answers to our questions. And Dr. Dakwar is here telling us that he's unaware of a lot of things. So how do we get answers to our questions?
That's an appropriate subject for the board to discuss how you would like to hear information about the concerns that have been raised by the public.
Yep, so Director Burris, under new business, then
We can,
yep.
Yeah,
We
let's
can-
let
why
it
can't
go.
we
at
can do
this
that
point.
here. We're in the midst of that, in the middle of a board item.
Okay.
So I'd like to move that at next month's board meeting, that the issue of our, what we'll call community education, our GED,
ESL.
HSED, ELL, ESL courses are here for the board to discuss. And I can just to say, I would like that to help the board understand why this is not an academic program, staffing issues, and issues with student interaction. So with course cancellation and registration, which I think were the things that we've heard. So, and I'd be looking for a second for that.
I'll second.
I'll second that. I've had my hand up for quite a while, but I don't think anybody saw that.
No,
I did.
Director Case did. I've been trying to get you in there.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Director.
gotcha.
Okay, well, no, I just wanted to second that and say that, can we please just get this into the next meeting?
Yep.
I want to make sure we discuss it. I have a lot of questions too, based on the memo, but I don't want to take up any more time. I just want to make sure that this time is on the agenda for next meeting, please.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So we do have a motion and a second pending, so.
Yeah, so is there any discussion on that? Right, is there anybody else who has, yes,
Thank you, Madam Chair, because I heard Dr. Dakwar state that there were fiscal reasons why we arrived at a certain conclusion. Are we not allowed to speak about how those conclusions were drawn? Or would that be better in a new business section?
I think we should talk about it either in new business or if there is a motion that is passed, to talk about it at next month's board meeting. That would also be appropriate time to option.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And I consider that a friendly addition to my.
Yeah.
that was what I was just gonna get. I was trying to remember everything that you had listed, because I would say if it wasn't included, like, yes, okay, a friendly, in addition to that, okay.
Because I think that
Correct.
Dr. Dakwar's statement about fiscal
Yep.
responsibilities gets to the crux of
Yep.
a lot of the questions that I have. And so if we're going to have that full
Yeah, it should be comprehensive.
conversation, then I can hold. fast
Okay.
to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to close with this and I'll leave it alone. But if Director Baker kind of asks the board to have something in someone's report, whether it be the chair's report, and I think that's what was sent to us in email. I guess I was looking for a little bit more meat and potatoes to it, not to just push it out even further. Because basically right now, I feel like I can't ask any questions and I haven't gotten any answers. So I just want to put that on everybody's brain that maybe we should just start asking that they're added to the agenda so we can ask questions about them. especially for issues of something of this nature.
Yes,
And
Dr.
then
Diaz.
I mean, talking about your motion, he just added something to it, right? And just maybe to see how we are like marketing to these, I don't know, to these students. And then if there is also a way for them to apply for it in Spanish. Is that, could that be added to that?
I consider that a part of what, when I was saying how we register, because
Okay.
I was hearing.
So I'm hearing that it's a
issues, so I think so.
comprehensive piece regardless of, that it's
Bring as much
comprehensive.
information as possible.
Perfect. I
Okay.
think that's very important.
I ask a question, and I don't know if
This
this
is
is
under
appropriate
discussion for
to
the motion,
answer
yeah.
now or in future, but I'd also like to understand what has been communicated to students and to faculty and to the team at Walker Square, because I'm hearing a lot of different perceptions. So I'd like to understand what the reality of what's been communicated. Also, fine for future, but you mentioned that there's no waiting lists for current sessions, but I heard that certain time slots had been canceled. So I'd also like to understand if wasn't added to Director Baker's request, understanding what the previous schedule offerings were and what the current is, and if there's gaps in what students are looking for, because they wouldn't be on a waiting list if it's a class they can't attend. So I'd like some clarification on that, please.
Well, I could tell you that.
Nope.
Okay.
Because if you're gonna go there with the-
Gangster.
Okay,
Okay, so we had a motion and we have a second and we're in the middle of discussion from board members.
Yes.
Are there any other board members that would like to add to the discussion before we take a vote? Yes.
Are we allowed to offer written questions? Maybe not in a walking quorum and email.
Yes. So here is,
Yes.
we will take a vote on this. If it passes, my recommendation would be that individuals email the president and myself only. Please don't do a walking quorum. And then we will collectively look at those to ensure that the report presentation topic includes as many of those as possible. So should this motion pass, that would be the recommendation. Yes. So we don't have to keep adding friendly amendments here. Is that what we're-
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Should we vote?
Is there anybody on,
No.
sorry, I can't, like, I can't do this.
No.
Okay,
We'll have the big tent motion.
yes, okay, like, yes, that, okay. So we have a motion and a second that at the March 28th meeting, we have an agenda item with a report that includes the community education program and a lot of comprehensive items that goes with it, as comprehensive as possible. That's the motion. I'm going to take a voice vote on that. So all those in favor of putting that on the March 20th agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, that will appear on the March 28th agenda. I will, so anybody who has questions, we need to get those in a timely manner though, because we can't be putting them in like 2 days before there. So Dr. Martin, what's a reasonable amount of time to get questions in prior to that?
Well, if you could get it in within the next week, that would really be appreciated. It takes a lot of time to get data.
Yes. So copy in both Dr. Martin and myself with those questions that you want answered, and we'll compile them and see if there's that to bring us clarity. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, my last topic. Gwen, I'm gonna have you come over here. Dr. Baker Director Baker last month mentioned on the HR report, she had mentioned that she saw a retirement, and this happens to be Gwen's last day work. Very last day, not only last board meeting. So I'm going to read, we have a resolution here and I'm going to read from that. So this is a resolution of appreciation for Gwendolyn Green. Whereas Ms. Gwendolyn Green began working at Milwaukee Area Technical College in the Human Resources Department in 1998. And whereas starting on May 19th, 2008, Ms. Gwendolyn Green served with distinction as liaison to the MATC District Board, conscientiously drafting meeting agendas, accurately recording board minutes, and efficiently arranging travel for administrators and board members. And Whereas Ms. Gwendolyn Green contributed to the aesthetic beauty of the downtown Milwaukee campus by serving on the Community Arts Committee. And whereas Ms. Gwendolyn Green's 25 years of steadfast, committed service have helped MATC make lasting and significant progress. Be it resolved that the district board, on its own behalf and that of the students and employees of MATC, gratefully acknowledges, thanks, and honors Ms. Gwendolyn Green for her dedicated service and contributions to the college.
I just want to thank everybody for this and for acknowledging me. And thank you for your appreciation, because I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And now it's the president's report.
Okay. Okay, Charleston, board members, faculty, staff, community, students. I'd like to update you on some key events. I'm pleased to announce that Biz Times Milwaukee named 2 members of the MATC community as notable leaders in higher education. Ms. Laura Bray, Vice President, College Advancement and External Communications and Executive Director, MATC Foundation Incorporated. God, that's a mouthful. And Dr. Sadiq Isahaku, Dean, General Education, Academic and Career Pathway. So congratulations. In addition, Ms. Elle Bonds, Vice President, Human Resources, and Dr. Eva Martinez-Paulus, Vice President, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, were selected to be included in the Biz Times Media Notable BIPOC Executives list. These 4 individuals contribute greatly to the mission of MATC, and we are fortunate to have them on our staff. So congratulations. For the first time ever, our MATC Stormers men's basketball team was streamed on a national platform, ESPN+. The Stormers battled the Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats on Thursday, February 25th, and left with an impressive win. The team is currently ranked 8th in the nation, and yesterday Lance Allen featured the team on WTMJ4. The team has a GPA of 3.1 collectively the first semester, so they're not only focused on basketball, they're also making strides in the classroom thanks to the great coaching of Randy Casey and his other coaches, and just congratulations to the whole team. Our recruitment team is hosting community pop-up events around the city and taking alumni along with them to engage with potential students. The next event is at Radio Milwaukee on March 8th from 4:40 to 6:30 p.m. MATC recruiters and alumni will be there to discuss the benefits and the joys of college and how the Shakota and Promise scholarships can provide a free tuition and a full ride scholarship. This follows a highly successful event at Sherman Phoenix. The purchasing department is hosting a vendor spotlight series where they are introducing minority, women, veterans, and LGBTQ owned businesses to the college to help diversify our contract and vendor base. If you know any business who could benefit from this, please let Beth know and she can provide more information. Bittersweet, another person who will be leaving us, Kristen Ducato, who you all know as our interim general counsel, is leaving the college and transitioning to the healthcare industry. Our loss, their gain. Ms. Ducato has served in her current role since August and has been with MATC for more than 6 years. Her last day will be Wednesday, March 15th. During her time here, she has partnered with leaders to analyze legal and risk-related matters, worked on the college-wide pandemic response, and helped lead the board district appointment process. So we're in the process of hiring her replacement. If we could do that. In the meantime, Michael Best will be assisting us with legal issues, and we have Denise Greathouse here today with us as well. So we wish you the best, Chris, and thank you for your service to our college. It's really appreciated. It's going to be hard to say goodbye. Even harder, and probably just as hard, best wishes to Gwen. Just really has provided such a welcoming environment. I think every single person that I meet with externally has commented on Gwen's the way that she just creates such a welcoming, warm environment, so kind, so thoughtful. I said this morning I was going to really miss her smile. And I hope I'm not going to cry here. It's been a pleasure to know you and to work with you, Gwen, and you have made our office a better place because you're here. So thank you so much, Gwen. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Is our student on?
Yes.
Okay, we are going to move over to our district student center report, and I believe Patrick Casper is joining us from Zoom today.
He is. Yeah, just one moment, please. Can you guys hear me all right in there?
Yes. Yep.
Awesome, great news. Well, thank you. I don't know who just introduced me. I'm not really good with this technology stuff, but thank you, Dr. Vicky Martin, members of the MATC District Board, and the administration. My name is Patrick Casper, and I'm happy to be here with you again this month. I apologize for my absence last month. Pretty under the weather right now, so just bear with me. Student life, welcome new coordinators last semester at the Mequon and Oak Creek campus. The new coordinators are hosting a lot of great events. For example, I attended the Org Fest on Tuesday, January 31st, which had the highest turnout of any event on campus that I've ever been at Oak Creek. Organizations such as the Black Student Union, the Asian Students Association, Rainbow Alliance, MATC, and many more were in attendance to share information about their organizations. Additionally, offices such as athletics and the Student Resource Center were present to connect with students and share their resources as well. The Wisconsin Student Government hosted the annual legislative seminar at the Concord Hotel in Madison. It should say Concourse. So I just said Concourse now. MATC brought 18 student leaders, including myself, MATC's WSG governor and the lieutenant governor as well. And then from several student organizations, there were other student leaders as well. It was a great turnout for MATC. It was very rejuvenating to see a high number of students participating in the seminar, juxtaposed against myself being the only student last year. Student leaders were able to discover the importance of WSG and practice lobbying and meeting with legislators to advocate for open education resources and restructuring of the Wisconsin Student Grant. If anyone is interested in our position paper, please let me know. I did help author it. I can get you a copy. I can send you a link, however you would like it. And then also student leaders from these orgs were able to share and learn best practices for organizations from the other student leaders at the other technical colleges. The DSGA and campus SGAs continue to plan events throughout the rest of the semester. I'm looking forward to continuing to be present for these events as the weather gets nicer and participation continues to increase. So that's most of it. I apologize if you were looking for the controversy, but I don't have it for you today. We're just keeping it light and fun. In conclusion, I thank you all for your time and the opportunity to present these updates and developments from the perspective of a student leader at MATC. I am looking forward to continuing to meet with the board for the rest of the semester. If there's any questions, comments, or concerns, I'm here.
I have one.
Sure, Director Burrows.
Are the students aware of the issues that other students are facing at Walker Square?
What that's a very open-ended question. So Latinx Unidos came out with us. So yeah, I mean, that's a very open-ended question. So like Latinx Unidos was there with us at WSG. When you say the students, I don't know if you mean the general student body or DSGA or who exactly. But I mean, it's not a secret concern. As the public turned out in droves, it's a well-known about concern.
Okay, has the student government or WGSA done any resolutions or spoken to the administration about it?
our district student government has a lot of its own things that we're trying to work out to raise efficiency. The details of that are definitely for another board report on a different day. But currently, we've not been brought into it by Latinx Unidos or any other students that were concerned. And so right now, from grassroots inwardly to the external, our focus is on raising efficiency within our own structure of DSGA so that we can be more helpful to students. So we have not.
Fair answer. Thank you.
Any other questions for Patrick? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Patrick. Look forward to seeing you next month in person.
Thank you so much.
We have our diversity, equity, and inclusion report. So Eva Martinez-Pavos.
Good evening, everyone. So my report today includes a couple of updates in regards to the programming that has been going on at MATC in the last couple of months. The Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion has been fairly busy. We have hosted, co-sponsored, and sponsored several DEI programs within the last 3 months for students and employees at MATC. We know that for students and employees, a culture of belonging is essential to retention, development, and success. For example, the Multicultural Student Services Office and Bilingual Office hosted a cultural day on February 15th at the downtown campus. At this event, over 200 students and employees participated, and we had over 10 vendors throughout the second and sixth floor. People also showcased their cultural regalia and their dresses. So it was a really good event that really provided a sense of belonging and inclusion for everyone at MATC, especially those who attended the event. Also on February 22nd, the Office of Student Life and DI Office hosted a Taste of Soul Food, which was an event where the audience really learned about the origins of soul food. We also talked a little bit more about the history of soul food and also the notions of slavery. It was a really great presentation, and it was also a really great collaboration between Student Life and the DI office. At this event, we also had over 200 students and employees participating. Our multicultural and bilingual office continued to provide quality services to underrepresented student populations. In addition to using EAB to follow up with individual students, these offices also sponsor events like a welcome back events and also events that serve as a home away from home for students and also employees who participate in those events. From helping students form a cultural club to assisting first-generation college students, the Office of the Ombuds at MATC, Title IX Office, Multicultural, Accommodations, and Bilingual Office continue to move the needle within their circle of influence. And all of those offices fall within the umbrella of the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. In conclusion, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Division continues to focus on making progress on the DI plan. Our team continues to work on equal opportunity and compliance, student success, accessibility and interpreting services, and instilling a sense of belonging for all students and the employees at MATC. That's my update for today, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how this all crosses over, but based on all this conversation we're having about bilingual programming and, hearing some concerns about, am I getting, when I go to register, am I getting bilingual help in when I'm registering and that sort of thing? Is this an area that your department would be part of a team on?
Yes, my department does work with other departments as well in ensuring that we have bilingual services. So the Office of Bilingual Education has 3 educational assistants that work with students in the classroom academically. And then we are also welcoming our first part-time bilingual advisor that will be helping students register as well. In addition to that, we also have bilingual services in other departments as well. I think that the biggest area that we will continue to focus on in the next couple of months is really creating a map of where our bilingual English and Spanish staff are located. to be able to really highlight those services and have a cheat sheet, if you will, for students that are coming into MATC. I think we have some work to do in the area of making sure that everybody understands where everyone's at, and we will continue to work on that. But my office does play a role, part of that role in that. Mhm.
Just for clarification, do you have someone in the registrar's office?
That is bilingual?
Yes.
Yes, and if there's no one bilingual there or no one available at that moment, they can rely on the bilingual office as well. We also have a full-time Latinx student services specialist in multicultural student services, and that person is fluent in Spanish and is available to students. And in fact, when students do call MATC, they get directed to Annabelle Chavez, who is the bilingual student services specialist for Latinx students.
And I assume we have resources for other languages?
Yes, there's in the education, in the bilingual office, we also have a Hmong educational assistant. So those are the two languages that we currently have, but then also other languages depending on the department as well. So in multicultural student services, we also have Durban, who is fluent in Hmong as well.
Just follow up on Director Mays's question. You said that we do have bilingual faculty members that's in the registrar's office, but do they know they have some other department to lean on when bilingual students come in? Is there some postings down there for bilingual students to see, to request someone of the same language that will possibly be able to help them?
My understanding is that there is an ecosystem for bilingual students. One of the challenges is communication. As we have new employees coming in, we have to continue to educate and making sure that everybody's on the same page in terms of when the bilingual student gets here to when the bilingual student graduates. So we do have a good understanding, but it needs a little bit of work. It needs a little bit of improvement.
Are there postings downstairs somewhere in the registrar's office so that the students can then request additional assistance?
My understanding is that in the registrar's office and also the admissions office and recruitment, there are point persons that are dedicated to helping bilingual students. So for example, also in advising, we have people that are available to help specifically students who are Spanish speaking or speak another language as well. Did I answer?
No, I think you answered my question, but I guess the answer to it is also no, we don't have any postings that they can see themselves, but you have point people downstairs that will be able to get them to the departments that they need to be in.
Absolutely. So for example, I'll give you an example. We don't have postings, meaning on the
Right.
walls, like physical. We have some signage, but for example, the Office of Bilingual Education, they, when a student comes through the door in that particular office, they make sure that they are hand holding that student, meaning that they're walking the student to the different departments with the different point persons, because as you know, with many of our ESL students, EAL students, there has to be an ecosystem of not only support, but also trust. So even if we may have signage or we may have different individuals, we also have to make sure that we are connecting our students, that we are handing them off to the different departments, and that there's good communication system for point A to point C.
Okay, so follow-up question, are both offices located in the same space?
No, they're located in different, so the Office of Bilingual Education is temporarily in T248, so right next to the main building. And then the registrars and admissions is located in the S building. And then recruitment is located right over here. So as you can see, if when we're working with students and they're new to MATC, we have to really make sure that we're handing students off to the different departments and communicating with the different point persons. We don't want them to, to get lost or fall through the cracks, and that's really important to us.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have our enrollment report with Dr. Sarah Adams.
Good evening, everyone. And just to add a little bit to what Ava said, we do have individuals in the admission center and office of the registrar that speak, especially Spanish. So we have them within meeting the students directly, and we also have them behind the scenes just in case they need additional help in our financial aid office and other areas like that. I know you've received the report that we sent, but I just wanted to update you with numbers as of end of day yesterday. And for spring, we're at 3,563 FTEs. And year to date, we have 8,083 FTEs. So it did go up a little bit from when I prepared this on the 20th of February. We are 149 FTEs away from our spring goal, and we're 217 away from our overall year-to-date goal of 8,300. We have additionally, we have 8-week classes beginning in mid-March that will continue to add a few more FTEs to our numbers. And then our registration for our summer and fall will begin in April. The beginning of April, we'll start registering for our summer and fall 2023. You have any additional questions? I did provide the breakdown of gender and ethnicity for spring specifically, and then I will give you the comparison again next month, just so you have that bigger picture.
Can you repeat those numbers again that were, later than February 20?
As of yesterday, we have 3,563 FTEs for spring. And the overall, we're at 8,083.
That's year to date.
Yes.
8,083.
Yes. 97.38%.
Okay.
I don't see any questions. Thank you. Next, we have our Milwaukee PBS General Manager's Report. So Dan Provick.
Good evening, Chair Olson, board members, and Dr. Martin. Our spring pledge drive is underway. The first weekend produced $56,820 from 347 donors, and 24% of these donors actually became sustaining members. We're currently at 26% towards this drive's goal of 220,000. And the George F. Moss Foundation also provided us with a challenge grant for this first weekend of the drive. They matched every dollar raised, dollar for the first $10,000. In comparison, last December's first weekend pledge drive raised $32,684. Milwaukee PBS's community support continues to be strong. We are now at $4.43 million raised. That's 70% towards the target goal of $6.3 million for this fiscal year. January was once again a record-breaking month for us with $438,335 raised. You know, I've previously mentioned the free will software, which allows anyone with a basic estate plan to create their own last will and testament. Last month, I reported to you we were at about $3.5 million. This month, I'm pleased to let you know that individuals using this software have now earmarked $4,735,572 in their estate plans as future requests to benefit Milwaukee PBS. Milwaukee PBS's engineers have completed the transition of moving the master control operation from Jacksonville, Florida, to the Educational Communications Board Joint Master Control Operation in Madison. The final switch over to Madison did occur as we projected on January 30th. Our television and video production students' TV workshop program series is scheduled to air on 4 consecutive Saturday nights on Channel 36 beginning Saturday, March 11th at 11 p.m. We're currently in production with a 1-hour documentary about the Milwaukee Soldiers Home that will be airing during the 4th quarter of 2023. In conjunction with this documentary, we have a digital series called The Women Founders of the Milwaukee Soldiers Home. We'll have 6 digital episodes that'll start March 6th during Women's History Month. Also, all our regular local programs are planning to have segments during March that will help celebrate Women's History Month. On Sunday, March 12th, we're pleased to present a special event with guest Rick Steves. He's one of America's most respected authorities on European travel. This viewer event to raise funds to support Milwaukee PBS will be held at Dominican High School in their auditorium, and admission will be $20 per person. Dan Mueller, our Chief Development Officer, is currently at the Public Media Summit in Washington, DC, along with Director Foley. And also our friends from the Educational Communications Board and PBS Wisconsin are there as well. Along with attending the summit meetings, they are making visits to our legislators on Capitol Hill to talk about the importance of funding for public media. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
Thank you. And Rami could not be with us tonight, so Laura Bray is going to come up and talk a little bit about the legislative matters report and a few other legislative things.
Great, good evening. I have a couple of reports to make. On the federal level, myself and Director Foley went to the ACCT conference. This is the Association of Community College Trustees in Washington, DC. And we were able to get a sense of what's happening at the federal level. Some things of note is that there is a real push to expand Pell Grants to be able to be for short-term programs. So right now, programs like our truck driver program and others are not covered by Pell. And believe it or not, we think there might even be bipartisan support for this, and we'll see how this plays out. But there were several other things that we were talking both with our delegation, but also that others of our colleagues across the country were just raising the awareness of community colleges. And one of the most interesting things was in every office we went to, even meeting with staff, they'd say, oh, I was impacted by a two-year institution, or my relative was. And so I think people are more and more just feeling the personal impact and understanding the role that we play. At the state level, there was the introduction of Governor Evers' biennium budget. Part of that includes statutory language that was recommended that was also included in addition to his budget recommendation. And some of that is in line with the move with the hopes that Pell will be expanded and kind of prepping Wisconsin to be able to be prepared for that. There were several things in his request that were increases both to the biennium for general aid, but also very specific programs. Those items, now that the legislature has it, it's going to be put back to a base budget and then kind of negotiated from there, not negotiated from the governor's budget. But you can get a sense of his priorities, which include things that are important to us. One is workforce advancement training grants. We've had overall more people interested in that than we have funding, both statewide and even at the local level, and things like increased funding for open educational resources, which we know for our student body is so critical to bring down the costs of access to textbooks, et cetera. So we're going to be tracking that and paying attention to it and understanding where we might be able to both influence, but also just join the chorus of other people in the community colleges across the state of trying to support additional funding for our students. There are two things that on committee work that we've reported on in the past. One is there is the Legislative Council Study Committee on the increasing the offender employment opportunities. There are several things in the report, but two I just want to note. One is that Dr. Isahaku is particularly excited about is the idea of providing individuals the ability to earn release upon their completion of employing readiness. There's no bill associated with this quite yet and hasn't been introduced, but we think that our students could really benefit, and especially it could even increase the number of people that we are able to serve who really are prepared for reentry. The other thing I just thought I'd let you know is there's some energy around even establishing an employer hotline. We do get questions from employers frequently about especially in tight labor market. How do I expand the pool of people that might be available for jobs? And there's interest. And I think that that's something going in the right direction. Finally, we're continuing to monitor the occupational licenses study committee. I know you're very involved in that. At this point, the District Board Association and us, we're just kind of monitoring. You'll see 3 things that are recommendations coming out of that. They're more general in nature and not specific in terms of very specific occupations and licensings for those. And so we'll just continue to monitor that and certainly be in line with the District Board Association on how it might impact Wisconsin Technical College system as a whole. So that's my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I regret to inform you that there will be most movements on specific licenses. I don't think any that would be affected by our students here. However, because of the makeup of partisanship in Madison, there are certain groups of people who are seeking to gain a degree of autonomy, if you will, through the licensing process. The underlying narrative is for one party to state that licensing takes too long for people to get. So they're trying to use that narrative to try to pull resources away from and responsibilities away from the Department of Safety and Professional Services in Madison as a kind of a partisan shot towards the executive in the state of Wisconsin. And it's troubling. I'm the ranking member on regulatory licensing reform, which is the Occupational Licensing Committee. And there seems to be a strategy of attack through licensing. Yeah. And you hear it not just in that committee, but in others as well. And I heard something this morning in a different committee. And frankly, I was livid. So yeah, unfortunately, I just want to bring that to attention. It doesn't have anything that affects our college, I don't think, directly, but there are some individual approaches taken, even though the language is that's not what's going to happen. And they're finding other ways to do it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Oh, it certainly, it's helpful to have that perspective and understand what's going on.
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Great. Okay, thanks.
Thank you so much.
Next, we have a quarterly report, which is the advisory audit report, and Director Mays, are you willing to share?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I know this is the exciting part of it. The Advisory Audit Committee met on February 8th. Interim VP Decado provided the committee information on the FY 2023 conflict of interest collateral employment review. In short, due to lingering challenges from the pandemic, inconsistencies with documentation, including staffing and also staffing shortages, there is no data to report on this topic. But looking to FY 2024, process changes are being incorporated and full execution is anticipated. Additionally, training on COI was developed and session held in January with the recorded training available to all employees. In addition to that, an internal audit update was provided by Mr. Brian Kubik, Manager of Internal Audit, regarding risk assessment. Mr. Kubik introduced Ms. Sherry Rowe, MATC's Coordinator of Clery Compliance and Emergency Management, who walked the committee through the college's tabletop exercise process, noting an exercise focus on cybercrime was scheduled for this month, and additional tabletop topics, including active shooter, are being planned or considered for this year, CY 2023. Mr. Kubik then walked the committee through the audit plan for FY 2023, the audit follow-up report, and the committee's charter compliance self-assessment. Finally, Mr. Kubik shared information on the college's personal assessment of college environment, or PACE, survey administered in spring 2023. It was noted the top and bottom 5 scoring questions were a topic of discussion at the October MATC Day, and the vice presidents were asked to hold divisional meetings in November and December to discuss the bottom 5 questions with their employees and try to identify action plans they could pursue to improve these scores. This approach ties in to our CQI model for plan, do, check, adjust, as well as collaborative decision-making and Dr. Martin's goals for FY 2023. And that concludes our report. Any questions? Just a lot of financial stuff.
You could have said that. You could have just said that, right? Lots of financial stuff. Thank you, Director Mace. Moving on to board monitoring. The first topic is the overview of academic offerings, and this was sent in advance. So Dr. Jacquard will come here to address any questions that people have or follow up on that specifically.
Hello again. I'll be happy to address any questions that you may have.
Sure, Director Baker.
Just a comment, I think this came a little bit off of a conversation we had at the end of the last board meeting, and I'm delighted to see, it's a very broad overview, but for us as a board to be reconnecting, I think a number of board members said we really needed to connect more with what was going on in our academic program. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And I'll be
high
happy to, even outside of the board meeting, if you have any questions, you'd like to spend more time on any particular topic, learn more about something, I'll be more than happy to provide that information as well.
Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions at this time.
Nothing online.
Nothing online, okay.
Okay, let me just say one of
Sure.
One of the experiences that I loved in the past when I was a board member was occasionally the academic area would offer the board tours, and we'd notice them, of certain areas. And I remember when we were setting up all of our renewable energy stuff down on South Campus and whatever, I think it's also a great way for the board to understand at that level what we're doing. So it might be something for us to consider, maybe occasionally during the year to have, a hands-on sort of look at our television programs. Our studios like amazing, or, something.
Good, thanks. Okay, I think that's it. I'm not seeing any
Thank
others.
you.
Thank you. And it is time for a quarterly OPEB and FCC trust. So Jeff is here to share that.
Hello. I believe at your place, there's a small handout, a chart. Basically 2 pages to show us some information on the FCC trust and the OPEB trust. I'll give you a second to take that. On the left-hand side of the FCC Spectrum Trust, you can see the asset allocation. And at the end of December, we had $94,638,095 was the total value at the end of December. On the right-hand side, we have a performance summary. And basically, it's for a variety of different periods over the from the first quarter, showing them the last quarter, I should say, the last quarter of the calendar year last year, 1 year performance, 3-year performance, and then also since inception against the blended benchmarks. At the bottom, you'll see the quarter ended. We started October with 89,249,784. And we ended up with the 94 million that I mentioned. What's interesting on the right-hand side, the FCC trust, we did start with $84,931,314. We dispersed a little over $17 million. And at the end of December, it was 94 million, as I mentioned. But one point I would just like to mention is yesterday, at markets closed, the trust value was roughly $97.3 million. So if there's any questions on the FCC trust, you flip the page, we have the OPEB trust.
I do have a question.
Sure.
actually. When I got appointed to the board and I met with you, you said that we take money out during the fiscal year and we can use that to apply to other programs and things like that.
Usually non-operational programs.
Okay.
There's initiatives that typically we wouldn't fund with. And we do have a list of board approved, there's a list of 4 board approved items that we typically apply those to.
Okay, for board approved items that we can use it for, or?
What we can use those for.
Okay.
So there's 4 categories and I'd be happy to.
And you said not operations.
No, we don't. We typically don't apply FCC funds towards operations. Towards
That's
normal
why.
operating, because we have a general fund, which is really, it takes care of the normal operations. Any other questions? So if we flip the page, we have the OPEB trust, and OPEB is other post-employment benefits. And we do have liabilities against that we do provide. This is to help pay for those other pension benefits that were eligible to people. A while back, I think we stopped. It was 2015, I think, was the last year that people were eligible for post-employment benefits. So
I'm sorry, this is healthcare, correct?
primarily healthcare, yes.
Okay, isn't pension WRS?
Yes, WRS is for pension.
Yeah,
Yes.
so this isn't.
Did I say pension?
Yeah, and that's why I was just
I'm
checking.
sorry. Oh,
That's okay, it's health.
other post-employment.
Yes.
Right,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay,
Good
thank
catch.
you.
Great. I'm sorry. And so once again, on the left-hand side, you can see the asset allocation. And then on the right side, you have the performance summary. And this is one of those, this trust we do not take funds out of. The funds go into it. And you can see the value at the end of December was 44,683,448. And as of yesterday's close, it was little over 46 million. So it's a little bit higher. Any questions?
What specifically do you mean by post-employment for those who may?
Health insurance, people who have health insurance, who retire with a health insurance benefit. People who are hired, and I'm not sure exactly what the dates are, but I believe you have to have so many years of service. You have to have been hired before a certain date, because people after a certain date were not eligible for for health insurance for retirement.
So we're discussing retirees.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but this trust is not funding any of those right now. We're paying it out of current operations. But at some point, the liability and this asset will offset each other, and we'll be able to cover all those expenses, future expenses, as people retire.
Okay.
So it would take the burden off the current operations.
Absolutely. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
And my one question, do we see this as our, is this fully funded?
Oh, you mean does
In
this
terms of what our
completely?
projected OPEB liability
No,
is?
but it's come down considerably this year. And it was mentioned, I think, when we went through the audit in December, and we showed what that liability was, and I'm trying to think I'll get you the number at the end as of the audit date, but it's come down considerably. It was probably the year before, it was like 90-some million. I think it's like 40 million, the net liability. So
We're very close.
yes, we're getting closer.
Okay.
Okay, I think that's it. Yep,
Thank you.
that's been a question that I've had to because that then frees up from the general operating budget moving forward.
Madam Chair, is there any way you can get me the information that he was talking about with the FCC funding for the four
The
different
priorities
areas?
or the big.
I just want to
areas?
be able to educate myself.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep, follow up on that. I'll share that with all board members as a refresher from that, because I think it was just my first meeting was right when this was happening, FCC. so-
Right, I think we should provide more than just the 4 categories, some background
Yeah.
information on it as well, the purpose, what it's really intended for,
Yeah.
especially with PBS, so.
Yep.
So we'll
Yeah.
get you a little bit more than the 4 categories.
Yep. Okay. New business.
We already know what that is. Yeah.
Well, I think we made a motion specific to that, but so we've already had a motion that talks about next board meeting. So we do have one item that's already there. So, yes.
And this is just like a question, and I don't know how can it be added to it. I know that we don't have like an application in Spanish for registration for MATC.
Okay.
I don't know if that's something that could be added into here so we can discuss it, if we can add it as an option, I guess. And even if we can go beyond that, maybe to different languages too.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is that something that can be added? This is a right moment for that, or that's totally different?
Yeah, I get the question is if that's a question you'd answer. Sometimes is that an agenda topic or is that just something like sometimes that question can just be offline. It doesn't have to be an agenda topic, but what you're asking is that's a question you would like answered. So whether or not it's on the agenda or we go and say like, can this be done? Like you might get that answer like, yes, we can do it tomorrow. And then it doesn't have to be on the agenda.
Oh,
So
yeah, that's a question that can be added.
yes,
And
yep.
I
So
think it equally falls under Director Baker's.
I mean, if that
portion about
covers
registration.
that necessarily have to be like.
it could, I do think though that it goes beyond the community
I think
education
it's
program.
separate,
It's
it's a
different.
system
It's a,
That's
issue.
why
Yes,
I asked,
correct.
because I think there was some
Yeah.
topics that we were
Yeah,
discussing.
yeah.
right. Mhm.
And this is a totally
Yeah.
like, maybe kind of operational side.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's come up before and there's
Yes.
system, it's more system versus the registrar and their sort of domain.
Yeah, 'cause I'm
Eva's
like-
nodding behind me, so yeah,
yes.
so
Yeah,
yes.
I heard that before, because I have
Yeah.
asked that question.
You have
before.
asked that
Yeah.
question before. That's why I'm like, wait, I'm feeling like
Yeah,
I've heard
yeah.
this. Yes.
And it was more of the, on the operational side of the
Correct.
system itself.
Yep.
And see if we can bring it up for discussion, or, I mean,
If
I would
it's on
like,
the, right.
basically at the end, my angle would be if we can have it in
Yeah.
Spanish, at least because that's the like biggest section of the community that would be more.
Right.
I guess that is more affected by it, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, of course, I would like it to have it on any other language, because as we heard from the gentleman. from,
Yeah.
Ukraine.
Yes.
And,
Mhm.
you know, everything kind of gets lost in translation at times, you know?
Yeah.
And that makes it more, more easier. And I'm just gonna give an example when the question of residency is asked.
Yes.
And when you ask it in English, it sounds like, well, am I a legal resident
Yes.
Right.
or not? And that's like, oh, no, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
touch that one. I don't want that on my record, any shape or form, because that can mean something bad for me in the future if I ever get actually access
Right.
to that. And if you turn it into Spanish, you can
Yes.
say it in another way that be more, oh, this is, do you reside in this area? You know,
Right.
in Spanish, it sounds, I mean, it could be added in a way that it wouldn't be more as that much of the perception of liability from
Right,
the
right.
person that is filling out that form. That's the reason why it would be, I mean, I think
Yep.
ideal.
And
if-
you have asked that in the past, and I do think there was a response from at that
The
point about it was a
CIO.
system in terms of
Yeah.
the software that didn't let that do that. And so we had gotten that, but I think it's important to circle back on that specifically.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I
and
can't
then-
remember if it was like, it was budgeted or if it was a future item or if it was just here's your answer and that's done. So maybe a follow-up
Yeah.
on if it's
Mhm.
possible and if
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, and I think it was somewhere
Yeah.
on the lines of the system did not support that.
Right.
And then I'm
Yes.
like, well, I mean, can we find a system that will support
Yeah.
it? And what can we do? And that's kind of my,
Yep.
see if we can add it onto the
Yeah.
agenda at one point and see if we can find a resolution for that.
Because I think it was right after the rollout of the new website online navigation
I
thing,
believe
and that's why it was still there. So it'd probably
Yeah.
be good to come back and revisit that. So
Yep.
thanks for the reminder.
So if we could do that.
Mhm. Yeah, thanks for the
thank you,
reminder.
Madam.
Yep.
Yes, Madam Chair, I was gonna respond to that exact point, that there is our algorithm software that will change the entire application to multiple languages in a drop-down screen. that just costs money. For somebody to manage it or and to put it together, et cetera. And people with software companies and that do things with software, they like to charge you a nice pretty penny for it. So.
Yep. So I think we can circle back to that because I think it was very new right after that, but I think that was that same piece of it. So
I'm sure we keep dig into it, we can find out.
yeah, yep, I agree. So we'll get some follow up on that. Thank you. Any other new business? Okay, future events and announcements, both of them have been announced, but the appointment committee for the MATC District Board is at 1 o'clock at March 15th, coming up here soon before our next board meeting in this room, M210. And then the other item is our next district board meeting, which is a month from tonight on March 28th. So I asked Beth to reach out to folks because I want you to check that date because other than MPS, that is the spring break week for most school districts in Milwaukee. And we have run into a problem before if you are taking a spring break during that week, because that's when if you have children or whatever that are attending school. And so we need to make sure that we do have a quorum. We came close last year to not. So just as a heads up, that is the spring break week of most other school districts. So if you can take a look advanced on that a little bit to make sure. And again, even if you're on break, you can attend virtually, but we just want to make sure that we have that should we need to. So if you can take a look at that, please. That is it. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. A motion by Director Case, second by Director Burris to adjourn the meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed.
And Beth, you get us all that stuff that people gave us.
Yeah, I'm gonna scan it all in and send it in.
Just send it to us.
And then I'll have to discuss what's president to do with those that are.
Need translation. Yeah.
Yeah, because there was one that gave both English and
Yeah,
Spanish,
but some of
not
them
all.
are not.
But more, oh my God, that was something.
I don't know.
Do you know who it was? No, that she's been around.
Oh,
She left in advance 10 or 15 years
Oh.
ago. She was in
oh, yeah, no, I had never run into her.
No, I
I didn't know she worked for us.
had a second job now. I was like, oh,
I will be
I
traveling
debated
to
it
the
a lot.
next one, but I'll call it.
Yeah, because I remember like it was Lonnie and Nikki and everybody. I'm like, it's my spring break too. I was gonna go somewhere.
And I didn't know how
I will
long
be
this would
traveling.
take
The
to
word
do.
is
I was gonna take a little longer.
Yes, I mean,
I'll be virtual, but.
what was gonna happen?
I get that.